Your Honor, my client does not want a divorce and asks the court to schedule a consultation. She feels that the marriage is strong enough to survive this misfortune with some help. Her lawyer said this. My future ex-wife, Julie's lawyer. My lawyer stood up. Your Honor, a 12-month affair with multiple men leading to the birth of a child is hardly an accident, especially when DNA testing proves that the child in question is not my client's. We believe that there is no benefit in continuing this imitation of marriage any further. Consultation won't change anything. It's because of the child that I'm inclined to order a consultation, said the judge. A child needs a stable home to grow. If you expect me to raise the illegitimate child of this cheating bitch, I said loudly. My lawyer winced. The judge slammed his gavel down hard. One more word, and I'll charge you with contempt of court, he shouted at me. I schedule a month of counseling, 2 sessions a week. Otherwise, he glared at me for a moment, then slammed the hammer again. This is all. Julie, my soon-to-be ex-wife, looked smug as I walked into the consultant's office. I'm Dr. Sullivan, but you can call me Gerald. Can I call you Brian? He smiled at me. No, you can't. You can address me as Mr. Stedman. Brian, there's no need for that, Julie began. And you don't have to contact me at all. I barked at her. I think we need to calm down. Please, Mr. Stedman, have a seat. He pointed to one of the chairs next to him in front of his desk. I moved my chair a good 6 feet away from the chair Julie was sitting in and plopped down in it. Gerald sighed. Okay, then, he began. I didn't hear anything else as I pulled out a set of AirPods, inserted them, and started listening to music from my phone. Gerald just stared at me and then started talking to Julie. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I just kept playing with my phone, listening to music. About 15 minutes later, I saw Julie stand up. She glared at me and left the office. I took out my air capsules. Okay, doctor, good session. See you on Thursday? I canceled the meetings and sent my report to the judge. Better. The judge was unhappy. Give me one reason why I should not hold your client in contempt of court. He growled at my lawyer. Your Honor, you ordered my client to attend the hearings. He attended the first meeting as ordered. It was the consultant who canceled the remaining sessions. The consultant's report clearly states that he made no attempt to participate in the session. He put on his headphones and ignored everyone the whole time. You ordered him to be present? My lawyer replied. He was present. Given that the consultant has determined that there is no point in continuing counseling, I would like to ask you to grant permission for the divorce as per the petition. Not in this life. I schedule 4 weeks of consultations. Mr. Stedman will be present and he will participate. The office was set up in exactly the same format as the first time. 2 chairs about a foot apart stood in front of the table. The consultant sat down at an empty table, except for a yellow notepad and a photograph of a pretty woman, in my opinion, about 35 years old, and a child who looked to be about 6 years old. Mr. Stedman, he said, please have a seat. I started moving the chair again. Julie held out her hand to stop me and I jumped back. I notify you both that any physical contact will be interpreted as an attack on my person and will be responded to accordingly, I said. Julie gasped, pulling away. I went back to pulling up the chair and then sat down in it. I took out my phone again. Mr. Stedman, the judge has ordered that you attend the hearing. I know. I use my phone to record the session to prove my participation. My lawyer says some consultants are known to have their own agendas. Since my soon-to-be ex-wife has been dating you for a while now, I feel like you may already have a relationship with her that could work against me. What if I object to recording sessions? Asked the consultant. Then I'll go back to court and ask for another consultant. There is such an option. The only reason I haven't done this yet is because it will cause even more delays. Julie, how do you feel about the sessions being recorded? He looked at her. It doesn't matter, she said, waving her hand. Can we just get started? Okay then, said Gerald. What would I like to do first? Before we start, I interrupted him, can I ask a question? Of course, he said. You can ask questions at any time. I may ask you to refrain from asking questions at certain points in the process, but ask now. He smiled encouragingly at me. Have you already had it? Julie gasped, but Gerald didn't seem bothered. No. Julie and I have not had and will not have any sexual contact, he said softly. It would be inappropriate even if I weren't already very happily married. Is this the answer to the question? I nodded. I believed him. He must have been one of the few men Julie had met in the last year who hadn't slept with him. Then it's okay. Then, as I said, what I would like to do first is set our expectations. Since I have already spoken with Julie several times, I would like her to outline what she would like to achieve in these sessions and what her desired outcome would be. I would ask you, while she is speaking, to refrain from commenting or asking questions until the end. Once Julie tells us what she hopes to achieve, I'll ask you to do the same. I refrained from commenting. I didn't look at Julie when she started talking. First of all, Brian, she began. Don't talk to me, I growled. Talk to me, Julie, Gerald said. Tell me what you would like to hear from Mr. Stedman. I wanted him to hear how sorry I was for hurting him. I know what I did was wrong. He just spent so much time at work on his business trips, and I was alone. I realize how much I hurt him, and if I could go back and change the past, I would give anything to do it. I love him more than anything in the world. I know we can get through this if he would just give me a chance. I would show him that I can be the best wife a man could ask for. We could raise our child together and give him a wonderful life, maybe even a brother or sister. I want us to be together. I know we can do this. We can get through this. I know we can. Gerald smiled at Julie. Okay, thank you, Julie. Now you, Mr. Stedman, what would you like to say? I glared at him. I'd like to see a cheating cheater, festering for fun, contracting a rare and incurable STD and dying a slow and painful death. Julie burst into tears and ran out of the room. That didn't help, Gerald noted. I don't want to help you. This bitch fornicated with half the men in the city for a whole year, got pregnant and tried to pass off the child as mine. If I hadn't already suspected something was wrong and asked for a DNA test, I would even now have to pay child support for someone else's child. Tell me, Doc, how exactly should I behave? Your anger is natural, but you need to look past the anger at what you had. Do you actually know what the hell you're talking about? Have you ever had the love of your life, the person you trusted with your heart and soul, and who you were literally willing to die for, and that person gives a damn about you so much that you question your own sanity? When I found out what was happening, I wanted to die. I seriously thought about committing suicide. How can someone who claims to love someone hurt them so much that they are driven to suicidal thoughts? Also, did you notice that she never said she was sorry for what she did? For sleeping with all these men, for all the lies over and over again, for getting pregnant and not even being able to guess who the fucking father of the child is? The only thing we can be sure of is that it was not me, not the person who was supposed to give her the child. So since you have no idea what it's like to be in my position, don't sit there with your sanctimonious fucking smile and your bookish knowledge and tell me that I should forget about my anger. Right now, my anger is all I have. Just let me get this cheater out of my life and try to rebuild something of the broken pieces she left me. I hope this counts as participation, I growled at him, leaving the office. When I got home, I decided to do a little preparation for the next session. Maybe I could prove my point. I asked Julie to let us do this session without her. Gerald said when I walked into his office the following week. I feel like we can do better on an individual basis to start with. As long as this is still considered court-ordered counseling, I'm more than happy not to have to be in the same room with that bitch. I sat down, placing the A4 envelope I was holding in my hands on my lap. Can we try to refrain from name-calling, please? It's not constructive and just a nuisance. I don't want to be constructive. I just want to go through these sessions and get this cheater out of my life forever. I never wanted these sessions. She's just determined to make me suffer as much as possible. She doesn't want a divorce because the prenup leaves her with nothing. So she's trying to get me to take her back. It will not happen. What about the child? He is not guilty. Of course, he shouldn't be punished for... He's not my problem or my concern. According to your understanding, I would have to take on board every homeless girl who got pregnant. These children have nothing to do with me, and neither does this child. Why are you so sure that there is only one outcome from this? You obviously loved her very much. This whole feeling doesn't go away overnight. Your anger is masking it for now, but once it subsides, and trust me, you will find that there are still feelings that you can draw on, feelings that you can use to repair your relationship, even make them stronger. That smile is back. I wanted to hit him. It's time to give him a taste of his own medicine. I pointed to the photo on his desk. You have a good family? How long have you been married? We're not here to discuss my 11 years if my sources are correct. Childhood sweetheart, married right after college, waiting to have kids, and then little Ethan came along. How old is he now? 9. This photo must have been taken a couple of years ago. How do you... he began. But did you know that dear Cheryl has her own secrets? Did you happen to know that when she says she's in a Pilates class on Wednesday afternoon while you work, she's actually at the Motel 8 on Patterson having sex with her personal trainer? This is completely ridiculous, he stammered, but I saw that he was not sure. He turned very pale. Really? I said, pulling out several photographs from the envelope. I placed them on his desk, one after the other. They showed an attractive, slender woman entering a hotel room with a young, muscular man. He hugged her waist, and they looked at each other lovingly. I pulled out the DVD and also placed it on his table. There's also video footage from inside the room if you want real proof of what they're doing. It's pretty graphic, so if I were you, I wouldn't watch it. I made this mistake when I received the private investigator's report. These images will haunt me for the rest of my life. He looked like he was about to throw up. Oh, and one more thing. Ethan. No, he said quietly. Please, God, no. I pulled the DNA report out of the envelope. It seems that the fitness instructor is not the first. I think he would be too young to be Ethan's father, but whoever the father is, it's not you, I said quietly. He stood up and ran to what I assumed was the bathroom next to his office. I heard him vomit noisily into the toilet. Now you understand? I asked him when he sat down in his chair again. Tears streamed down his face. He looked at me with dead eyes. Now you see the pain she caused me? And why should I remove her from my life? He nodded weakly. Fine. Now there's one more thing you need to know. He looked at me with fear. Is there anything else? He asked plaintively. It's all fake. None of what I just showed is true. As far as I know, your wife is as loving and faithful as you think she is, and Ethan is your son. But the photograph? Photoshop. It's amazing what you can do with a few Facebook posts and a little time and effort, I replied grimly. If you had asked anyone even remotely competent to examine the photographs, they would have told you that they were all fakes. I took out a few more photographs from the envelope. But to prove it, these are the originals that I made them from. His face started to turn red, and I wondered if he was going to attack me. And the DVD? He asked. Empty disc. DNA report? In fact, this is a DNA report on the child of my future ex-cheater. I just changed the names and dates. He sat stunned for several minutes, more tears streaming down his face. Why would you do this? What could you achieve by destroying my marriage and my life? That was not my intention. That's why I told you almost immediately that it was all fakey. I never intended for you or your family to come to any permanent harm. I just wanted you to truly understand for once the pain I went through, the feelings of loss, anger, and resentment. You only had it for a few minutes. I still experience this. Your short-term suffering is my life now and in the future. Making me sit here with this bitch, listening to her spew her shit about how she loves me and wants me back, just means I have to keep going through the pain over and over again. There are laws regarding cruel and unusual punishment. Why are they not used in this case? I just want to move on, try to pick up what little I have left and move on with my life. Why can't you in the courts let me do this? I collected all the papers from the table and put them back in the envelope. I'm actually sorry I had to do this, but I needed you to understand. I left his office. Your Honor, I have a report of a court-mandated consultation that my client was ordered to attend. My lawyer addressed the judge again. I have a copy, the judge growled. The counselor appears to feel, even after only 3 sessions out of 8, that this marriage cannot be saved and that for the well-being of all concerned, including the child, the best solution would be to allow its dissolution. Yes, Your Honor. I request that the marriage be ordered dissolved in accordance with the petition. The judge looked at me for a long time. I looked straight ahead, not wanting to meet his gaze. I approve, he said finally, banging the hammer. The wife cheated with more than one man, gave birth to a child herself without knowing who the father is. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.